Here we're going to convert a class component into a functional component. So you can see here we're importing React and we have our class component here. We have state and we have this increment function connected to this button. So basically every time we click on increment, it updates state and we get an increment in our button right here. So see that we are updating state. So we're going to refactor this so that it is a functional component, and we can hopefully you can use this to whenever you see a class component in the curriculum, you can convert it to a functional component. So first thing we're going to do here is we can leave export default. This part right here is going to go away. So we still need the name, but it's not going to be a class anymore. It's going to be a function. So let's just get rid of this part. Since it's a function in these parentheses, and we'll just write function here instead of class. All right, we're going to have errors here throughout because we're not 100% done. But when we convert a class component to a functional component, we no longer need the render function. So I'll highlight that, go ahead and get rid of this parentheses, and go ahead and get rid of the render. And that's usually all you need to do. Here we can see we're running into some issues with these two, with state and with this increment function. Since we're in a functional component now, we no longer need this this values. So let's leave these here for now, and let's go ahead and make some adjustments. So in order to use state in a functional component, we need something called hooks. And hooks basically allow us to use state in a functional component. The syntax is a little bit different than what you're used to in a class component. So first what you need to do is import use state. All hooks begin with the word use. So here is use state. Yeah, right there. So that is the use state hook, and it's the one that's used the most because it just creates state. So you can see right here, we have this count, which is 0, and I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to comment it out, but I'm going to leave it there for now so we can see a comparison between what a functional state looks like and what traditional state looks like. So here, there's a syntax that you have to get used to. It's like a destructuring syntax. So I'm going to say const, and then I'm going to do an array, and I'm going to say count. And so this count right here is this same value up here of count. And then I'm going to say set count. Now set count is a function. When we use hooks to create state, we create the data we want and a special function to update that data. So each piece of data has its own customized function that will update it. So previously in a class component, we would use set state for everything. This is a little different. Whenever we create a variable that we want to use in state, we have to create a function too. And the convention is to put set in front of it. So if this was name, I would say set name, age, set age, so on and so forth. So over here, I say use state, and then I pass in the initial value that I want count to have. So it's going to be a 0. So you can see, just like we had here, our initial state of 0, here I can do the same thing, but now I'm using a functional component. And so now that that's clear, I'll get rid of this. Our problem though is our increment. Well, we can't just have a name here in a function, we have to use const or let. And since this is a function, we'll use const. So now we're making progress. So you see we have this and we have set name. Well, that's not allowed in a functional component. So we'll just go ahead and get rid of that. And remember, the way that we update count is with set count. So inside of our increment function, we will say set count, and the value of that will be count plus 1. Kind of like what we had before, a little bit simpler, just because we just have count, we don't have to use this. And then down here on my increment, all I have to do is get rid of this keyword. And now we have a functional component that does exactly the same thing that our class component did. And if we go over here, let's refresh this. And we have an error. So, right here I have this .state.count. I need to get rid of that and just have count, because that's the value of 0 that we have. So now we can see over here that when I increment it, it's exactly the same, but we're only using functions. And this is the way that React is moving in this direction. So we should be focused on learning components that are built on functions and not on classes anymore. So hopefully that'll help you in understanding how to convert a class component to a functional component.